I eat extra sharp. That's what I eat.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Ukraine. A wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Ukraine. Iraq. Anyway.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, "Fool me once, shame on you." If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Notice something. I defended him on his bad joke because I have standards and I have principles.
They felt pretty comfortable after day 2.
$7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh, seriously, hot sauce. I've been eating a lot of hot sauce, a lot of raw peppers and hot sauce.
I've got to go. Let me respond. There's a lot to respond to here. Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this far. Okay? Number 1. Number 2, I mean what I say when I say it. I mean what I say when I say it. I am not up to the job. And I mean that sincerely. It's not like, whoa.
In contrast, checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq. Launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq. Launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Ukraine.
That will enhance our underlying effort to accommodate the Russian oligarchs and make sure we take their ill-begotten gains. We're going to accommodate them. We're going to seize their yachts, their luxury homes, and other ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. The guys who are the kleptocracies. But these are bad guys.
In case you don't know, and you haven't seen the latest polls, the American people hold the President of the United States in contempt.
Joe Brandon, I agree.
Here I am, Nancy Pelosi, saying this country needs a strong Republican Party, and we do.
But the real problem is that our leaders are dumb. So dumb.
Should we have done that sooner?
We are doing it.
But should we have done it sooner?
We are doing it.
Let me just tell you, I get along with everybody, which is my obligation to my company, to myself, etc. Obviously, the war in Iraq is a big, fat mistake, all right?
In contrast, to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq, anyway.
It's not that they don't want to help. They don't know quite what to do. Play the radio. Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night. The phone. Make sure the kids hear word.
Dub is a shit fuck, cringe tour, etc., etc.
Everybody comes in your grandmother year. Everybody comes in your grandmother. Everybody comes in your grandmother. Everybody comes in your grandmother. Everybody comes in your grandmother year.
Hello, users, and welcome to another episodic in style-ation of the goddamn. Hello, users. We got some users here in the goddamn, some users that are here today. So, welcome to the goddamn. Today I'm drinking a beverage of mysterious quality. Right now, this is the Pabst Blue Ribbon hard coffee. And I don't think there's any caffeine in here or coffee. I'm not convinced that there is, but I'm going to find out. Tastes like milk. Anyway, we got a show going on today. Doing a program today, and I'd like to thank everyone for showing up. It's not great, but it'll have to do. Thank everyone for showing up today. I've got a show planned. I planned on doing a program today. So we have a program today, actually. According to reports, I've seen a couple of reports actually that have said that the show is in fact on today. That's what it seems like. It seems like that, okay? All right, y'all. So we got a plan. I got a plan for the show. We're going to do some news. I mean, this is not beer. This is hard coffee. I don't even think they're calling it beer. And it's fucking 11 fluid ounces. Who the fuck makes a can that's 11 fluid ounces? These motherfuckers are ripping me off. Anyway. Today, we're going to be doing some news. Today, on today's program. And, we're also going to be doing some movie reviews. I watched a really good movie yesterday on copious amounts of psychedelic substances, and I had a good time, and I want to share that experience with y'all. Yes, I do drugs every day, before Home comes back in the chat to point that out to everyone else. But anyway, got a new show here. Got a couple things that I want to talk about in the news. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. All right. So Joseph Robinette of the Biden clan invokes the Defense Production Act for formula shortage. So now, again, a week ago, he was yelling at people saying he's not a mind reader. Now he's actually doing something, so that's great. In my opinion, I don't know why you wouldn't just do this immediately. We have the Defense Production Act. People cannot feed their babies. So I don't know. It seems like a no-brainer, but okay. I'm glad he did it. President Joe Biden on Wednesday invoked the Defense Production Act to speed production of infant formula and authorize flights to import supply from overseas, as he faces mounting political pressure over a domestic shortage caused by the safety-related closure of the country's largest formula manufacturing plant. The Defense Production Act order requires suppliers of formula manufacturers to fulfill orders from these companies before other customers. In an effort to eliminate production bottlenecks, Biden is also authorizing the defense production to use commercial aircraft to fly formula supplies that meet federal standards from overseas into the U.S. in what the White House is calling Operation Fly Formula. Why do they need the fucking ace pilots are flying the Operation Fly Formula? Like, that sounds way better in your head. Like, Fly Formula, it's got an alliteration. Add operation to it. It's like, what? Operation Fly Formula. It doesn't... What? I mean, like, I'm sorry. But, like, this is...
Only the really... I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
Anyway, supplies of baby formula across the country have been severely curtailed in recent weeks after a February recall by Abbott Nutrition exacerbated ongoing supply chain disruptions among formula makers. I got like a thing. A little piece of food in my mouth. I'm wiping on my desk. Anyway. Leaving fewer options on store shelves and increasingly anxious parents struggling to find nutrition for their children. I know parents across this country are worried about finding enough formula to feed their babies, Biden said in a video statement released by the White House. As a parent and a grandparent, I know just how stressful that is. Yeah, I doubt that Joe Biden knows how stressful that is. I'm just saying. The announcement comes 2 days after the Food and Drug Administration said it was streamlining its review process to make it easier for foreign manufacturers to begin shipping more formula into the United States. Now, that on its head doesn't sound so good. The idea that hold up, I gotta put something. Okay. The idea that we're flying in things with while rolling back standards of that kind. But I need people to understand that United States food standards are the lowest of almost any country that's in the quote unquote developed world. So if we're flying overseas, that implies that we're not going to Mexico or Canada, right? Which would make sense, right? Because they're right on the fucking border. But no, we're gonna fly presumably to Europe or something. And Europe, typically, for almost every country in Europe, besides, I guess, the United Kingdom, because of their whole Brexit fiasco, it seems that, in my understanding, that they have got higher safety standards for all of their, supplies and, food, ingredients, and so forth. So we might actually be getting better quality baby formula as a result of this. But, again, I don't know why the White House didn't know about this months ago. It's good that they did it right now. That's good, but they should he should have done this months ago. This formula shortage started really making headlines and I believe February, when the plant had that safety recall. And again, multiple kids died. I think it was 2 or 3 kids that died, and a lot of kids got extremely sick from this. I want to say it was Similac or something, the specific brand. But that shit's fucking crazy. That fucking shit is crazy, okay? But again, I'm glad that he's doing it now. Better late than never. So, imports of baby formula will serve as a bridge to this ramped-up production. Regulators said Monday that they'd reached a deal to allow Abbott Nutrition to restart its Sturgis, Michigan plant, the nation's largest formula plant. How about this? I'm going to just throw this out there. This is food for thought. So, a corporation cut back on all their safety standards, poisoned and killed infants, murdered them. How about we just rethink this entire industry? How about, I don't know, you hold them accountable? Like, okay, if I'm a parent and I feed my child lead and they die, I have a question. Would I be charged with murder? Does anyone know? Now again, also, the FDA needs to answer for a lot of these questions. I'd like to remind everyone that this plant that got shut down had a whistleblower contact the FDA, and the FDA sat on this info for 3 months before they did anything about it. A whistleblower was saying, yeah, the safety standards here fucking suck. Come over here, check this out. The FDA was like, I don't really feel like it. So, okay, if I feed lead to my child, I go to jail? If I see someone feeding lead to my child, right, and I don't do anything about it, I would probably go to jail. If I authorized someone to feed lead to my child and they died, I would probably go to jail. But when you work for a corporation or the FDA, it's all good. You win. It's great. You just get to do it again. You don't have any accountability, right? You get the price gouge. You get to make a shitload of money. You get to have the United States government to invoke the Defense Production Act to make free supplies for you, essentially. And you're good. Where's the accountability for this? Is this a conversation that anyone cares about? After getting the FDA's okay, Abbott said it would take 8 to 10 weeks before new products begin arriving in stores. The company didn't set a timeline to restart manufacturing. I've directed my team to do everything possible to ensure there's enough safe baby formula and that is quickly reaching families that need it the most, Biden said in a statement, calling it one of my top priorities. The White House actions come as the Democratic-led House approved 2 bills Wednesday addressing the baby formula shortage as lawmakers look to show progress on what has become a frightening development for many families. That's not going to pass the Senate. This doesn't matter. This doesn't matter, okay? Unless it passes the Senate, but we'll see. But again, if it does pass the Senate, right, we need to understand that whatever bill is going to pass with Republicans is not going to be enough, right? We need to have accountability for these motherfuckers that killed kids. We need that. But is anyone going to have that conversation? No. They're going to throw some liability waivers in this legislation, pay off the right amount of people. The CEOs of these companies are going to get bonuses with that payoff money, and everyone's going to be happy. That's what's going to happen here. Anyway, there you go. You can read the rest of that if you like. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'd say it's a net positive. But, you know, again, what are you going to do? I must say that this is, like, quite horrendous, but I'm going to consume the whole thing. Life is better when you don't have a bitch-ass baby in your ear telling you what to do. I agree with that. Who said that? Because that's a really good, that's a good quote. I endorse that. All right, so we got a show today. I'm doing a program. And I love this chair, by the way. I love just doing the casual spinning. I hope no one minds that I just am casually spinning throughout the entirety of the show. What was my dream last night? That is my personal experience. You are not allowed to access that information at this current moment in time. Anyway, got a show going on. So, okay, I'm going to start this segment by saying I am not an expert by any means. I am not a lawyer. I am not a professional of any kind. but I know a little bit about how our government works. A little bit. So, and I'm sure that you can probably find a better source of information on the following story, but I'm going to try to break this down from what I know, and I am open to additional information and details if people want to provide it. But I've got a Twitter thread on twitter.com from a one Mark Joseph Stern that is pretty decent at trying to break this down. And so, real quick, the Fifth Circuit, I believe, court has issued a decree of some kind, a ruling of some kind, that appears to basically strip the Securities and Exchange Commission of all of their all of their power, essentially, has been stripped by this decision, by this ruling of some kind. And so I'm going to read this thread from Mark Joseph Stern that kind of lays out exactly what's going on here. The Fifth Circuit just dismantled the SEC's power to enforce securities law. This decision is beyond radical. It is nihilistic. So, for those of you that don't know, Congress, the administrative state, right, like the EPA, FDA, SEC, and so forth, functions based on the concept of the non-delegation principle. Now, again, I am not an expert by any means, but basically, Congress passed legislation that defers judgment on things to these agencies. So, for example, Congress would pass a law that says we want clean water. What the fuck does that mean? Right? Like, if Dow Chemical says, oh yeah, no, don't worry, PFAS is fine, it's clean water, it's all good. All right, then we have clean water now, according to fucking Dow Chemical, right? So, instead of Congress having to draft legislation banning every single certain chemical and adding limitations, to, right, because people in Congress are not professionals in that field, what they do is they defer that judgment to the administrative state. In this case, this example would be the EPA, would then have a team of people to determine what clean water is and to make a series of standards that make sure that water is drinkable in this country. Now, again, the EPA is a flop. They failed. Almost every zip code in this country has poisoned water because the EPA's guidelines are significantly higher. It's like the CDC's new transmission stuff, right? Like, they'll have like limitations that are like 10 times what an unhealthy intake would be. So if you've got lead in your water, that can still be legal according to the EPA because it's not like super lead. It's not extremely dense, right? So that's, the EPA, the administrative state as it is already a flop. It's already failed tremendously, right? But this decision seemingly is going to strip them of what little power they even have at this point. And so let's move on. Jennifer Walker Elrod's majority opinion approvingly cites Ronald Reagan's 9 most terrifying words in the English language, which is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. I ask again, what is going on in the Fifth Circuit? Anyway, the implication of this decision is that most, if not all, agency enforcement power is unconstitutional, which in plain English means the federal government cannot enforce a huge swath of regulations. I mean, this is basically striking down the administrative state. Now, again, the Supreme Court could disagree with this. It could disagree with this, but do you really think a majority conservative Supreme Court is going to weigh in on this in any capacity? So again, this also would apply to the FDA, an already horrible institution and agency that does not nearly do enough to actually do its job. It's underfunded. The people that work there are really bad, typically, at managing things. Now, again, I'm not talking about the individual workers at the FDA, but I'm talking about the leadership. It's underfunded and incompetent in a lot of ways. Like again, with the baby formula shortage, there was a whistleblower that said, "Yo, this baby formula is literally poisoned." Right? They told the FDA about it. 2 babies died, and then the FDA came in to do something about it. So again, this is no good. This is no good at all. And so again, I am not an expert in law. I'm not a legal person. I'm actually illegal, technically. So I'm an illegal alien. But again, this is not like, I don't know, the FDA just going from bad to non-existent, theoretically. Now again, what this implies, right now, does this immediately strip, is everyone working at the SEC fired immediately, right? No. But what happens is they're going to appeal it. It's going to go to the Supreme Court. They're going to probably agree with this, right? And then from that point, people are going to do like one random lawsuit against the FDA, get it up to the courts. They're going to say, yep, the FDA also applies here. Someone's going to do a random lawsuit with the EPA and all these other institutions and agencies, and they're basically going to determine that there's no such thing as the administrative state. It's gone. Bye-bye. And so we're fucked. So anyway, there's some news there. We are fucked. You can read more into that. If anyone wants to give me more information on this, I would really appreciate that. But to my understanding, we're fucked. Now again, regulations in this country are already shit. They're already garbage. They're already not nearly enough. But to go backwards as we're entering the climate crisis, right? As water quality is getting fucked in the face, as food is getting poisoned, baby formula is getting poisoned on purpose to save money. Not good, folks. So that I can tell you, this is very bad. And so again, I will try to follow this one to the best of my ability and learn more about it, but I wanted to just provide to y'all a little bit of an update from what I have found to break it down in a way that I think is more understandable for people. What are flappers? I'm not going to lie to you. This hard coffee that doesn't even taste like it has coffee. I think it's just milk. Like, I don't know, but coffee flavored milk. Are you even allowed to have caffeine in alcoholic beverages? I think they banned that. Anyway, the first people in America were under a corporate contract that did not protect or mention their rights. Just profit for the company, of course. Flappers are those 20s style dresses. All right, I'm in. The 20s. What a world. In fact, we're in the 20s. Right now, we're in the 20s. We're roaring. We're roaring. Look at that. Did they do this in the 20s, or was that like, I don't know. When was this? Was that the 50s or something when they started doing this? I don't know what they were doing in the 20s. They were buying and selling stocks and then losing it all. People love to talk about stock market crashes. I mean, goddamn, we're entering the 20s. Like, what are you expecting? We're in the goddamn roaring 20s. Like, hello? Learn from your history. Horrendous. All right. So we got some more stuff here. So I've got a very unfortunate clip here. And this is unfortunate for a lot of reasons. A lot of people throughout 2020 had kind of like a reckoning with our political system. You know, when George Floyd was murdered, right, a lot of institutions came into question, a lot of positions of power, people in power, district attorneys all over the country, the legal system came into question. A lot of people started to learn a lot more about just how fucked in the head the people that run our country are. And so I want to provide to you another example that nothing has gotten better and that this country is still bought, paid for, ran, and owned by dumb motherfuckers that employ dumber motherfuckers to do their bidding. And so here's another example. This is Broome County District Attorney Michael Korchak, who held a presser to clarify a 2021 incident that the accused murderer, accused, by the way, like, I know it's like they feel the need to write that, but I'm just saying, in the Buffalo mass shooting was involved in. When asked if the Buffalo massacre was an act of terrorism, he said terrorism is flying planes into buildings. Let's watch.
Terrorism, I mean,
Hold on, let me raise the audio. I thought these news agencies are supposed to do this for me. These motherfuckers don't know how to do mixing.
You know, I'm from downstate. Terrorism is flying planes into buildings. This is just murder, as far as I'm concerned. It is terrorism because you're terrorizing the community, and it was racially motivated, we believe, at this point in time. But, you know, from the DA's...
So again, there's a lot of cringe here. I want to restart this. So first of all, terrorism is flying planes into buildings? Like, that's the quiet part out loud. That's the quiet part out loud. It's only terrorism if they're Muslim. That's it. That's just what he said. Only the Muslims can be terrorists. And then, everyone's favorite phrase, racially motivated? This motherfucker, the Buffalo shooter, literally refers himself as a proud fascist. And the people in power who could have done something about his antics before this tragedy are saying it's racially motivated? I don't know why, if he is fine calling himself a proud fascist, I don't know why everyone in power is like, is he really, is it, maybe it's motivated by race, maybe, but is it terrorism? I don't...
Terrorism, I mean, you know, I'm from downstate. Terrorism is flying planes into buildings. This is just murder, as far as I'm concerned. It is terrorism because you're terrorizing the community, and it was racially motivated, we believe, at this point in time. But, you know, from the DA's perspective, crime is crime. And whatever your motive for doing it, your motive is you're an evil person, and that's why you're doing it. So, I mean, I really don't get into what's terrorism and what's not terrorism. It's crime.
So he tried to save that there. He's like, I guess it's terrorism. Like, I mean, I guess he's terrorizing somebody. It's racially motivated, bro. But again, he let the fucking quiet part slip. Terrorism is flying planes into buildings. Who? What? Who would ever fucking say that shit? I'm sorry. I'm going to be honest with you, and this might be controversial. 9/11 was more than 20 years ago. Get the fuck over it. Get the fuck over it. That shit was 20 fucking years ago. I'm sorry. Shut the fuck up about 9/11, 9/11. Oh my God, 9/11, the Muslims, oh, 9/11. Shut the fuck up with that garbage. We have way more important problems in this country, and we need to stop comparing fucking everything to 9/11. Oh, is it as bad as 9/11? 9/11, 9/11, 9/11, the Muslims, 9/11. The idea that white people cannot be terrorists is just fucking ludicrous. It's ludicrous. We have, in this country, an entire pipeline and infrastructure that is built around producing white terrorists. Typically, they are children, 18 years old in this case. Kyle Rittenhouse was 17, right? And there's a lot of other examples of people like less than 20 years old committing these crimes, right? And everyone in any position of power, they're going to do everything that they can to just never talk about it. Oh, is it as bad as the Muslims? The Muslims, bro, they're Muslims. I mean, you know, can you really be a terrorist if you have white skin? That's what he's saying here. I would suggest that someone Googling what of the closest city to them that has the highest and most dense black population, driving several hours there and then massacring black people, probably wanted to inspire terror. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, maybe I'm just crazy, right? In this guy's terror attack, he almost killed a white person who was at the store. but did not, saw that they were white, apologized for pointing the gun at them, and then let them left. And then he let them leave? This isn't racially motivated. This guy is a proud neo-Nazi. He identifies as a fascist, and he laid out in his own words that he went to this location specifically to murder as many black people as he could. And we also know that he had intentions to, like the Christchurch shooter, go to other stores, go to other locations. He had a list of locations. Now, he was stopped after the one store that he went to, but he had plans to go all around town to mass murder as many black people as he could. That is not racially motivated. That is not, oh, well, I guess it's terrorism. That fucking shit is crazy. And these are the people that make decisions. Now, this guy is in a neighboring county. I believe this guy is in the county that the shooter is from, to my understanding. But the shooter, again, had a history of threatening to attack his own school. Was still able to buy guns. No prosecution. Wasn't put on any lists. Very interesting. Very interesting. But it's just a reminder that these institutions in this country are garbage. They will always be garbage. Until this generation dies off. The boomers need to go. The sooner that the boomers in power die off, the fucking better for everyone. These motherfuckers need to retire. They need to go the fuck away. Because they're fucking this whole planet up. They're destroying the entire world for no fucking reason other than selfishness, ignorance, and negligence. And they're just going to let these crimes happen. They're going to let these terror attacks happen. And they're just going to move along until the next one that's racially motivated. Until the next one that's racially motivated. Until the next one that's, oh, he's just mentally ill. And we're also seeing a lot of these conservative news outlets posting headlines with thumbnail images showing, oh, he's a cute little kid. Oh, the Buffalo shooter. Here's a photo of when he was 7 years old at a Christmas present opening. Have you seen this shit? Like, I want to say it's like, it was like The Sun or something that like posted a thumbnail of him like opening Christmas presents like as a child. This fucking shit is crazy. This fucking shit is crazy. These motherfuckers are insane. Yeah, I mean, no, of course, not all boomers. Environmental Coffee House, I agree. When you're 16 years old, when you're 14 years old, and you're black, and you're in a car, and your friend who didn't tell you anything ahead of time decides, oh, you're going to be my getaway driver, I'm going to go rob this store. You're 14 years old, you're black, you're tried as an adult. You're sent to jail for murder as an adult. When you're 14 and black. When you're 18 and white, he's a baby. Baby little bit. You opening Christmas presents. Oh, you got a little choo-choo train. Yay. It's fucking crazy. This shit is crazy. This fucking shit is insane. These motherfuckers are insane. Oh. 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 Alright, I teased this one in the intro, so let's get a little bit of comic relief. I mean, it's actually not comic relief, but just bear with me. George W. Bush. Does anyone remember George W. Bush? Personally, I do. I remember.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
So here's George W. Bush. Little oopsie. Whoops. Talking about Vladimir Putin. Let's watch.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq, anyway. 75.
Like, who the fuck is in this room? Who the fuck is in the room going like, oh, Iraq, 1 million people dead, oh, so funny. Yo, I can't with this shit, man. This is like an all-timer. This is an all-timer of a clip. This fucking shit is insane. So I want to go over this, right, point by point. Does anyone know what happened in 2000? This might be a shocker. I don't even know if if I'm allowed to say this. In 2000, Al Gore won the election. But the Supreme Court decided to issue a ruling that said that they stopped the recount in the middle of the process. Now, again, we can criticize Al Gore's campaign for not demanding a statewide recount or whatever. You can do a lot. You can talk a lot about 2000. But the Supreme Court said, stop the recount as soon as Bush was ahead in Florida. By the way, who's governor of Florida in 2000? Oh, right, Jeb Bush, George Bush's brother. Huh, interesting. So anyway, the Supreme Court issued a ruling that said that they stopped the recount in the middle of the recount so that Bush would be handpicked as president. But then the Supreme Court, after that ruling, and while they made the ruling, they said, this is not precedent. Never cite this case again. This is a one-off. Can you think of any other time in the Supreme Court's history where they've ever said, this is a one-off? This is not precedent. We're not doing judicial review on this one. This is a one-off. Just this case. Everything else stays the same. Does it... So, with that context, let's play this again.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from...
The United States has the highest prison population of any country. If the United States incarcerated population was its own country, it would be one of the largest countries population-wise in the world.
From participating in the electoral process.
When you are sent to prison and you are a felon, your right in this country to vote is stripped away and you cannot vote in this country.
The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Anyway. 75.
Yay! Again, this fucking shit's crazy. Now, again, just for the fucking bots out there, Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. Joe Biden is the winner of the 2020 election. Donald Trump is a loser. Just throwing that out there just for the bots. But again, this fucking shit is crazy. These motherfuckers are insane. They are insane. And the people in the room are just laughing. That's fucking crazy. Like, there's really no commentary I can add here. Other than, this motherfucker is insane. Other than, holy fuck. Other than, whoops. Whoops. Is there anything else? I mean, like, do I need to, like, go more in depth? I think everyone who would ever click on this is understanding just how depraved these people are and how hypocritical they are. Putin is literally using the same playbook that George W. Bush used to illegally invade Iraq and kill 1 million innocent people. Putin said that Ukraine has biological weapons, that they're gonna kill everyone with these biolabs. Yeah. Doesn't that sound familiar to you? Putin says, oh, this isn't an offensive invasion. This is defensive. We're entering another country and mass slaughtering civilians to defend ourselves? Huh. That sounds a lot like, oh, so Saudi Arabia committed a terror attack against us, so let's go invade Iraq because they're going to hit us any minute. That motherfucker's got weapons of mass destruction. He's going to blow our country up any minute. So we're defensively killing 1 million civilians. It's defensive. It's insane. Did I see your tweet with Cheney on SNL on the bomb with Saddam's name on it like the movie? I did not. Feel free to DM it to me so I can check it out. All right, y'all. I got one more story here. It's not really a story. This is just a dunk fest. But it's well-deserved, and it's a necessary dunk fest. But after this, I'm going to do some movie reviews. And I'm excited to talk about movies. This has been my thing here. I've been really enjoying the movie reviews on my show, and I get a lot of positive comments for it, and it's cathartic, and I don't talk about news. You know what I mean? Like, it's just fun to sit back and not worry about these fucking crazy ass motherfuckers. But anyway, let's worry about some crazy ass motherfuckers real quick. All right. I don't even know where to start this, so I'm just going to put it on the screen. This is a video that was posted on Rising featuring Brianna Joy Gray with the title, "The Great Replacement Theory, Is Tucker Right?" Brianna Joy Gray takes a closer look at the Great Replacement Theory and argues that liberal media's focus on Tucker Carlson is a red herring. So I'm just going to let this speak for itself for a moment. I'm sure anyone watching this video, when you click on this video, you've already got your mind made up. Either you are going to defend Brianna Joy Gray in my comment section, call me a racist because I dared to criticize a black woman, or you're going to say, what the fuck is this bitch talking about? Jesus fucking Christ. So I already know that. I'm not going to be changing anyone's minds here. That said, this is some crazy fucking shit. This is some crazy fucking shit.
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
So, Incaino on Twitter.com, who has been on this program before, decided to do the pain, engage in pain, and clip farm this garbage-ass video. So, let's watch.
In the wake of the Buffalo Massacre, Tucker Carlson has come under scrutiny as perhaps the most high-profile purveyor of this narrative. He, of course, does not advocate for physical violence against non-white populations or anyone. In fact, Tucker Carlson is fastidiously race-neutral in his language, frequently adopting the famous colorblind quote from Martin Luther King and stressing that his interest is in protecting American culture and the American way of life.
only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
Breonna Joy Gray is comparing Tucker Carlson to Martin Luther King Jr. I'm going to be honest with you. I am legitimately impressed by her ability to say that without laughing. Like, the ability for her to read off the teleprompter and say the most heinous shit in the world without laughing hysterically, either during or after, I'm impressed. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have that in me. I would not be able to do that. So, in that regard, shout outs to Breonna Joy Gray. So, Incaino posts, these were the clips that Breonna Joy Gray thought proved Tucker is race neutral. Tucker refers to immigrants as more obedient voters from the third world and says that the U.S. is being invaded. He says that demographic change is the key to the Democratic Party's political ambitions.
That the left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement, if you suggest that the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the voters now casting ballots, with new people, more obedient voters from the third world. But they become hysterical because that's what's happening, actually. Let's just say it, that's true. Let's say that again for emphasis, because it is the secret to the entire immigration debate. Demographic change is the key to the Democratic Party's political ambitions. In other words, you're being replaced and there's nothing you can do about it. So shut up. I mean, they're trying to change the population of the United States, and they hate it when you say that because it's true. Our country's being invaded by the rest of the world. Let me just state unequivocally, the country's being stolen from American citizens as we watch. In political terms, this policy is called the Great Replacement, the replacement of legacy Americans with more obedient people from far away.
So I want to be very clear. This is not like an MSNBC "We Hate Tucker Carlson" like clip comp. This is like Breonna Joy Gray and the writers that paid her a lot of money to be the mouthpiece for this. They thought that this was like exculpatory evidence. Like, they thought, oh yeah, we're going to show that Tucker's not racist. Let's cue the clip of him calling people from the third world invaders. Oh, no, Tucker's not racist. But here's... Oh, you don't believe me? Oh, let me show you the clip where he calls people legacy Americans being invaded by the third world. It's not racist, though. No. That's race neutral. Legacy Americans and third world and invaders, that's race neutral. There's no implications behind third world. I mean, when you think about the third world, you imagine a person that lives in the, quote, third world. What skin tone do you imagine them having? Now, imagine you're a conservative. Imagine you're a right-winger. And you hear the term third world, what skin tone are you going to put in your head when you imagine a person from the third world? Anyway, Incaino posts another clip. Here, Breonna Joy Gray attempts to make the case that Tucker actually said nothing wrong because it wasn't explicit. Instead, she lambasts liberals, saying the more libs accuse him of being racist without being able to articulate why what he said is wrong, the more Tucker gains credibility.
Now, liberals interpret these statements about, America being stolen, etc., as dog whistles, as veiled references to a white way of life. But Tucker Carlson never says that explicitly. And the more liberals accuse him of broadly being racist without being able to articulate why what he said is wrong, the more Tucker gains credibility. Now,
So stupid. Thank you.
This here is particularly egregious. BJG claims Tucker is right. I'll just play the clips.
Tucker claims that his problem with Tucker's right. Liberals have largely been unspecific about what their concerns are with the great replacement rhetoric. But I will be. Tucker claims that his problem with immigration is that it will fundamentally change the voter rolls of the country to benefit Democrats. This is an explicitly political argument, not a racial one, which is why the claims of racism fall flat. Tucker's right. Tucker's right. Tucker's right.
I mean, like, do I need to, like, bring any examples from history or anything? Like, do I need to debunk this? Do I really need to? Like, I'm just gonna be honest. Again, if you clicked on this video, your mind is made up. Either you are gonna say, Jesus Christ, but a fucking dumbass bitch, right? You have an IQ above 5, right? Or, you know, your IQ is below 5, and you're gonna be like, how dare you, these regular liberals, you're a shit lib. There is no, I don't need to make any arguments here. This fucking shit's crazy. This is just straight up insane. This is insane.
Tucker is right about something. The Democrats have hoped that changing demographics will inure to their political benefit. Tucker. Among Congress members, Republicans are the more vocal anti-interventionists right now. Marjorie Taylor Greene is out here outflanking squad members on the absurdity of giving aid to Ukraine while American babies starve. And Latinos are an important part of the Republican base.
So now she is saying that she's using the Glenn Greenwald, Jimmy Dore line of Marjorie Taylor Greene is outflanking squad members. This fucking shit is insane. Again, just, you know, for the people that need to hear it. The idea that the United States would ever do anything for its own citizens is ludicrous. The United States does not give a fuck about its own citizens. We all know that. The United States' history of foreign policy, let's be honest, 99% of the time, the United States is trash, fire, garbage. But also, just because the United States isn't doing anything to help our own civilians, doesn't intrinsically make sending aid to Ukraine a bad thing. Now, does it suck that the military-industrial complex has such a hold on this country that the way that it just is able to weasel the United States Congress and giving them contracts to send aid in the form of weapons over to Ukraine, does that suck? Yes. But this idea that this is a left-right thing, like just saying, oh, I don't care about Ukraine is like a left-wing position. Now, I mean, we can extrapolate this to, there are plenty of people that protested U.S. intervention in World War II. There were plenty of people that said, why would we go to war with Adolf Hitler? I mean, sure, he's, you know, mass murdering Jewish people, gay people. Well, I mean, you know, the United States liked that part, right? The United States was like, oh, fuck, the Nazis are killing gay people? Fuck yeah, let's go over there and get some Nazis, bring them over here, right? But people were like, oh, but Hitler didn't drop a bomb on us, so why should we do anything? Now, again, interventionism is not a left-wing position. In my opinion, left-wing position would be international solidarity against all forms of imperialist hegemony and oppression. That's my opinion on what a left-wing foreign policy would look like. A left-wing foreign policy would look like helping people that are being bullied. That's what it looks like to me. But in Brown and Joe Gray's mind, Marjorie Taylor Greene is an ultra-leftist anti-imperialist. I mean, yeah, she supports every other war. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, is supporting Putin's rhetoric that is enabling him to go to war. But that actually makes her the anti-war candidate. This fucking shit's crazy. This shit's crazy. So Incaino says, 2X's BJG had the opportunity to speak on how Tucker's rhetoric as the most watched political commentator on TV is dangerous and how much of the Buffalo Shooters manifesto reflects that rhetoric, but instead, she decided to talk about how we're just not focused on important issues. I mean, again, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, and all jokes aside, like, I'm going to be honest with you. Anybody that takes her seriously, we need to put a magnifying glass on all of these people. Anyone that you think is a good person, a well-meaning person, I'm not going to name any names, but if you know someone that's like, oh, Brianna Joy Gray, you need to send them this. Not my video. You don't need to send them my video, though you should. But send them this thread. This is fucking crazy. This is fucking crazy. This is insane. This is insane. It really is insane. Like, I don't, like, again, there's really nothing that I can say other than point out, where is Virgil, Texas? Like, can we talk about the fact that Brianna Joy Gray started a podcast after the Bernie campaign ended? She started a podcast with a groomer and pedophile who was exposed like 6 months into the podcast's life cycle and then disappeared from the internet. Virgil, Texas has been gone for like a year and a half now? How long has Virgil, Texas been gone? Like, I remember that motherfucker like disappeared like early 2021. So, but he's still on all the marketing and branding. I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that she operates a podcast where the name of the podcast is Bad Faith with Brianna Joy Gray and Virgil, Texas, right? Virgil, Texas, the accused groomer pedophile who disappeared from the internet for a year and a half or so. Why not remove him from the name of the show? He hasn't been on the show in a year and a half. So I'm just saying, this motherfucker, right, as bad company, has been caping for bad people. If you go on Brianna Joy Gray's Twitter feed and ask her, hey, what happened to your co-host? I thought you had a co-host on your show. She will block you. 100% of people that ask her about Virgil, Texas get blocked. If you go to her show page and live stream and chat and ask about Virgil, Texas, you'll get banned. If you send a super chat and ask about Virgil, Texas, you'll get banned. And now she's going on billionaire-funded media to defend Fox News hosts. This is insane. This is insane. This is insane. This is insane. These people are crazy. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. Because why not? Why not? Whew. That's some crazy shit. Anyway, movie time. Movie time, movie time. Movie time. Movie time. Movie time, movie time. Why are too many progressives falling to the dark side? Money? Brianna Joy Gray, first of all, never a progressive. She's not a leftist. She was raised as a corporate lawyer. She has no morals. The only reason why she pretended to be left-wing was for branding and clout. That's it. That's it. The only reason she did that is for marketing her brand. That's it. There's no other reason. That's it. She has no care in the world about international solidarity. She has no care in the world about leftism. She has no care in the world about socialism or communism or any, bringing people happiness or helping people thrive. She has no care in the world. The only thing she cares about is money for herself, and that's it. Priority list, number 1, Breonna Joy Gray only cares about money. Number 2, nothing. That's the end of the list. That's it. There is no other, she has no other angle to her politics other than, how can I market myself to make as much money as I possibly can? Like, if it was like even number 1, money, number 2, socialism and values of leftism, right? And then like sometimes, you know, they mix themselves up. But no. She doesn't give a fuck. I need you to understand. She doesn't give a shit. That is like, it is only, singularly, not mostly, not 80%, 100%. She only gives a fuck about money. That's it. So, that, you know, that needs to be understood. Anyway, movie time. Movie time. Movie time. Is everyone ready for this shit? Is everyone fucking ready for this shit? I'm out at the movies portion. This fucking goddamn bitch-ass bastard. Squirrel. More like fucking prick. Am I right, people? Am I right, people? Squirrel. More like I'm gonna throw you in a whirlpool. Eh? Squirrel. More like, I'm gonna let my dog outside and he's gonna eat you and kill you. Anyway, oh, all right, movie time. All right, y'all. Yesterday, I watched a couple of films, and I love films, I must say. So yesterday, I streamed yesterday. I played some Doom on my stream, and I got a little drunk. And immediately upon ending the stream, I decided to ingest magic mushrooms. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know how much really I ended up taking. But anyway, I had a very intense experience. And during this intense experience, I watched the following movie. I watched Inception, y'all. Now, I want to say that I've seen this movie before many times. This is one of my favorites. And it was phenomenal. I mean, again, watching this movie on shrooms is way better than watching it while sober. I'm going to be honest with y'all. Okay? This movie, I mean, I'm willing to say that this is a perfect movie. Like, and that's watching it sober. But, like, watching this on drugs, I mean, it's a perfect movie. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I don't know. Like, it's a masterpiece. It's a 10 out of 10. There's 0 flaws. The acting is great. The music is great. The plot is great. The writing is great. The cinematography is great. I mean, it's a perfect movie. I mean, I could stop the review there, but I'm not going to. But, like, if you haven't seen Inception, I mean, again, it's one of the best movies of all time. Like, if I were to construct a top 5, this is on my top 5. I mean, it's a phenomenal film. It's long too. It's 2.5 hours, right? But every single second of it it's incredible. So anyway, so I got really fucked up. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. When the movie first started, I had it synced. I had it ready to start before I had ingested the drug. But when I sat down to watch the movie, I'm not gonna lie to you. So the movie opens at like the end, right? Like where Leo is going to save the Saito character from the Gone Zone, aka Limbo. And I'm gonna be honest with you, when the movie started, I had no idea. I had never seen this movie before. Like the first half of this movie was like watching it for the first time because I was having a very intense experience. And watching this movie for the first time, but knowing you already like it, I mean, like, what a privilege. But anyway, I just have to say, now, as someone that has extensive experience with lucid dreaming, the dream logic of this movie is like 10 out of 10. It's right on the money. Like, as far as like logic goes, right, the only thing in this movie that's fiction is like synchronized dreaming. And like that's pretty much it. Like everything else, like, and the weird drugs that they use, but like synchronized dreaming is like the only thing in this movie that is fictional. Like every other aspect is like based on how dreams actually work. And so, you know, the plot line is basically they try to incept someone, which is the concept of like making them do something that they want to do, but going inside of their subconscious to make them think that they came to that idea and conclusion on their own terms, which makes it more like, you know, they're more willing to do it. Like if you put a gun to someone's head and say, do this thing I want, you know, they're going to be more hesitant or resistant. But if you go into their brain and plant the idea there so that they come up with it themselves or feel that they came up with it themselves, right? You know, that's the idea of the movie. So anyway, wow, what a movie. So I gotta say, like, the first, like there's, I would say this movie is, like, divided in, like, two parts, right? You've got, like, everything before the plane ride where they, like, start the actual project, which is, like, that's, like, an hour in. So, like, the first hour is just setup, right? It's just setup. And, like, the setup is great. Like the setup is very good. I mean, it's just very good. Like there's like a lot of the world building, like where the characters are talking to each other and going inside of these dreams and waking up, and then like it cuts to these like parts you don't know what's real and what's not. You know, I'm gonna say that I'm willing to suggest that the entire movie takes place in a dream. I mean, it also doesn't matter, right? Because like really, like, you know, I mean, is anything real anyway, right? So anyway, the movie plays a lot around the concept of that, you know, you don't know if you're dreaming, right? And typically the only way to really find out if you're dreaming is to trace back your steps. And so for me as a lucid dreamer, this is something that I do every day of my life, in dreams and in the real world. I don't know, once every couple hours, I just think about my entire day. It's like a habit that I've built because I love doing lucid dream stuff. I've had dreams that have felt perceptually in the dream that they've lasted for multiple years. I've had that experience before. I've had dreams where I have fallen asleep in the dream and then dreamed within the dream. I've had that happen. And so, like, again, I would say that the dream logic in this movie is phenomenal. Like, it's all real. Like I want to be like, I don't know if people have extensive experience with dreaming like I do. I don't think most people do that kind of stuff. But I think I'm willing to say that the only fictional part of this entire movie are, like, obviously the characters, but, like, the synchronized dreaming. I personally don't believe in synchronized dreaming. Now, I'm willing to be proven wrong, and I'm willing to be under the assumption that synchronized dreaming is theoretically possible in the future. I'm willing to say that. But as of this moment, I'm going to be honest, I don't believe in synchronized dreaming. I know some people have said that they've had those experiences, but I am more of the mind that your brain hallucinates those experiences and they just seem like they really happened. That's my opinion, but I'm willing to be moved on that. But anyway, so basically, you know, this guy hires the main character, Leo. I forget his name, actually. It's something Cobb. but I forget his first name. But anyway, so he hires the main character to incept some business rival, right? Like, he's just like a rival businessman who's like monopolizing a certain industry that's not good for his business. So he wants to incept him to make him break up his business. Pretty simple political motives, right? And so then, all the characters in this guy's squad, essentially, they're like, that's not possible. That's not gonna happen. But Leo's like, nah, bro, it's gonna fucking happen. Trust me, I've done it before, right? And, the ending of the movie is great because it's like, oh, who did you do it on? Oh, I did it on my wife and I drove her to suicide and she killed herself. But did she kill herself? I mean, personally, I'm of the belief that the whole thing was a dream and that she woke up from the dream and that Leo and everyone else has been dreaming the entire movie. I think the whole movie. I think the whole movie is a dream. I think that that's the most likely occurrence. But anyway, so they hire him to do this job, and then he brings together a ragtag squad, meets up with some old friends, and then hires a new person to like build some dream worlds, right? And then so the reason why he hires a new person to enter the squad is it's a vehicle for him to explain how dreams work to the audience, right? Because he's explaining how dreams work to this new person in the squad, right? And that sets up all the story so you understand how the whole like the first hour of the movie is just set up, right? It's a 2.5 hour movie, right? The second hour and a half is like its own distinct movie, right? The first hour is just the setup. But I mean, you gotta watch the whole thing. I'm not trying to say that you should only watch the last 90 minutes. But anyway, so they do the setup. They talk about how the main thing that you can tell is a dream is you don't know how you got there. 99% of the time when you dream, you don't know how you got there. Now, I will say I've had dreams where this is something that I've had frequently. It's called a false awakening, where I've had dreams where I've woken up either from a nap that I don't remember taking or, from just waking up in the morning. I've had dreams where I wake up and have had an entire day that occur that feels normal. I've had dreams where I've come on here and have done a fucking podcast and I've had dreams like that. And so I mean in retrospect I can tell that they were dreams, and at the time it was but I've had dreams like that where I can retrace my steps to I woke up and I did this, I got coffee, I walked my dog. But most dreams, you just you're in the middle of it, you don't really remember because, short-term memory, is something that's really difficult, to recall when you're in the dream world. But anyway, so that's kind of the point. They describe that whole thing, and that's very true. So then they set up the heist, the inception, they set it up. So then, they get this guy on a plane. Realign, feel free to ask your question. They get this guy on a plane. They all buy out the rest of the plane. They don't, the guy doesn't know that. And it's, then they set it up and then they go into I think there's 4 layers or 5 layers. I think there's 5 layers when you think about it. Because if you are under the impression that the whole thing is a dream, that's 5 layers. But anyway, so they do the dream within the dream within the dream. And then once they're in the dream within the dream within the dream, then they got to go deeper, of course, right? Because the dream within the dream within the dream is breaking down. So the only option is to go into a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream. And so then they do that, right? So then they try to incept this guy by convincing him that his father wanted him to do something or whatever. That's the side plot. That's the thing about this movie is the plot is irrelevant. I'm going to be honest with you. The plot is not is the least interesting part of the movie is the actual plot line. Right? The most interesting part of the movie are 1, the mechanics, 2, the world building, 3, the cinematography, the music. Oh my God, the music is incredible. The music is incredible. And one of my favorite parts about the movie is the last hour, right? Where they do the constant scene changes from each dream layer, right? So it's you got the guy driving the truck in the rain, and then you've got the motherfucker floating in midair in the hotel, trying to figure out how to get them to kick out of the dream. That's another logic, by the way, is that in order to wake up, it's the idea of if you fall off your bed, you wake up. Typically you fall off your bed, you wake up. I've woken up on the floor falling off my bed before, but, typically, the feeling of falling can wake you up. 90% of the time, if I fall off my bed, I'll wake up just from the thud, right? So, that's the idea. So they're all trying to, in order to get out of the dream, you need to, do, a kick of some kind to make them feel like they're falling, and so then they'll wake up. But each layer that they go in, right, they leave one of the squad members behind, and... they're trying to their kicks fail, right? They set up, the plan fails, right? And they have to improvise. And that's what's so good. It's so you learn the mechanics of how the world works. You learn the mechanics of how the dream logic works. And then the plan immediately, they go into the actual part of the movie that's the Inception part, and then immediately all the plan goes to shit. It all fucking falls apart literally within the first 30 seconds, right? Right, Saito gets shot and he's dying, and that's a big segment of and then they're all improvising, and that's what's great. I love the part of the hotel where the fucking sets spinning around and they're having fucking kung fu combat and shit, running on the wall. It's great. That's one of my favorite parts. But again, one of my favorite parts is the limbo, the way limbo is represented. I like to refer to it as the Gone Zone, where it's these guys, it's a Minecraft server, you haven't logged into your Minecraft server in fucking 5 years, and it's got all these buildings you remember building, but they're, it's the vibe is just fantastic, right? It's the fucking oceans with the fucking tall building. It's really good vibe. Anyway, so the main character, Cobb, stays into the Gone Zone to try to rescue Saito because he died or something, and he died within the dream, and then his, mind went into, the infinite subconscious or whatever, so he has to go get him out, and then, oh shit, that's the start of the movie. Now, again, I was on shrooms when I watched this movie, and so, the first hour, I'm gonna be honest, it was like watching the movie for the first time. At least, the first half hour, I had no idea what the plot was. I have seen this movie several times, but I'd done so many drugs that I completely forgot what the plot of the movie was. And I'm gonna be honest, experiencing the first hour ish, half an hour to an hour, was I was kind of starting to remember what I was watching. But experiencing the first half an hour for the first time, right, especially because the first part of the movie takes place at the end of the movie, right, it was very bewildering. I gotta say, it was very fun. It was very enjoyable, and I would recommend that experience to anyone, except I don't recommend that experience to anyone because drugs are bad and don't do them, they're illegal. But anyway, it's just great. The idea of aging in a movie, or aging in a dream, rather. I feel that. I've had dreams where I'm super young. I've had dreams where it's I wake up at random points in my life. I wake up and I'm 15 years old. I wake up and I'm 7 years old. I've had dreams like that where I'm aging backwards. Sometimes I have dreams where I age forwards, but that's not nearly as common because I've actually lived as, a child and a teenager and a young adult and so forth. I've not actually lived as a middle-aged person or an older person, right? So it's that's more theoretical. But I've had dreams where I age backwards, or I wake up at random points in my life, and that's a theme as well. And Cobb's subconscious is that one of the characters spies on him in a really invasive way, and so his dream structures are basically just memories, right? When he dreams, he goes in there in a way that just he relives random days of his life, and so that's super interesting. I don't know, the dream logic, I feel Christopher Nolan is definitely a lucid dreamer. I don't know how you could write a movie like this without being very extensively knowledgeable about the world of lucid dreaming. Again, this is a masterpiece of cinema. I can't praise it enough. The music, the editing, the way that they do, especially at the end when all the layers, every character that's left behind is trying to organize the kicks or whatever for all the other characters, and there's 5 layers going on. It's just great. The music is phenomenal. I'm on the edge of my seat, even though I've seen the movie before, especially by the time I got to the end, I remembered what movie I was watching. So I already know really what's going on, but it's just so good, right? It's just so good. And then when you watch this, I don't know, if you've ever seen this movie once and you've only seen it once, this is a movie I feel you could watch it 10 times and you can still pick up new information every time you watch it. That's my opinion, because I know I've seen this movie at least 5 times before yesterday. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was catching a lot of like new stuff that I'd never really seen before. Like, just like a lot of like the combat stuff is really interesting. Like in the way that like the projections, right? Because that's one of the other things. It's like when you dream, right? You have people in your dream, and theoretically your brain, like I read a rumor, I don't know if this is true, but a lot of people say that your brain cannot generate new faces, that it only like uses faces from people that you've seen, right? It's just that we have seen, like, you know, when you watch movies or whatever, you see like on all the extras, like your brain just registers that somewhere deep in your subconscious, right? Like when you walk outside and like go on the bus and you're just like around other people, your brain will just recognize faces. So, you know, I don't necessarily know if that's true, but anyway, the way that the projections work is that, you know, whoever's subconscious, like every other extra or actor in the dream is like actually just their subconscious projection of like just random things, right? And so like there's a lot of like manipulating there's the one part where Cobb tries to get the Mark, who's the person they're trying to incept, to turn against his own subconscious. That's one of my favorite parts, where it's like, you know, he gets him to not trust his own subconscious because he gets him to think that he's in someone else's dream. So that's actually everyone else's subconscious. And it's just like, it's really good. There's a lot of deception in this movie. There's a lot of like, one of the big aspects of this movie is that dream logic. Like you just like, there's a lot of go with the flow and improvising. And I know I mentioned that before, but it's like, you know, when you're in a dream and you realize you're in a dream, right? Like, you know, theoretically, all the logic goes out the window, right? You can do whatever you want, but they do a lot of like really good explanations to like keep like, you know, the Mark Fisher from like just like flying around like Superman or whatever. I mean, I'm sure that, you know, I don't know if the character in the movie has trained to do that in any capacity, but also like the characters in this movie, none of them like do any like supernatural stuff, even though, you can make the argument that the movie would have been a little cheesier if like Leo was flying around like a fucking, you know, cartoon character. You can make that argument that like grounding it in like a real world physical sense, you know, like with gravity and stuff. You know, there is a couple zero gravity stuff, but you know, making it more grounded in physical reality is like just easier to watch and digest. But you know, that's a whole thing. But anyway, they do mention a lot of like, they have to like, there's a lot of psychological manipulation to get people to, believe that they're dreaming or believe that they're not dreaming and stuff. It's just great. I really don't know how to describe how good this movie is, other than like I could talk about this movie for literally 2.5 hours, but like instead of listening to me talk about the movie, you should just watch the movie. I mean, even if you've seen it 10 times, you should just watch the movie again. I mean, it's just it's phenomenal, right? It's phenomenal. And then the plot line with like Cobb's wife or whatever, that he feels guilty because he incepted her into thinking that she was still in a dream and then she killed herself in real life or whatever. But did she kill herself in real life, or did she actually kill herself and then wake up and then Cobb's been asleep the whole time? It's possible, right? Who knows, right? There's really no way to know. And like, again, that's what's so crazy about this movie, is that it really does a great job of capturing just how real dreams can be. And I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like 90% of people in the world, I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to be leaning into like, I feel like 90% of people that live in like, I feel like indigenous people that like are far away from like the internet and far away from society as we know it, I feel like they are much more in tune with the dream space and the dream world than a lot of people in modern society and civilization. I feel like 90% of people that are walking around and talking in this civilization that we live in our society, are people that are unfamiliar with how dreams work in any way. And it like, to me, I've had dreams that have felt like years have passed. I've had dreams where it's like, you know, it's like 2027. I've had dreams where it's like, you know, I age backwards. I've had dreams where I relive like years of my life. Like I have dreams where I wake up when I'm like 17, or, you know, just, you know, random number. And then like I'm like living weeks of my childhood, and like the events don't have to be actually one-to-one with your memory. They just have to be good enough for you to think that they're real, right? And that's the thing, is like when you're dreaming, like you're just in that kind of state where it's like, you don't like, most people aren't really present. I would say most people are not. Like I would say most people are on autopilot most of the time. Most people are not really observing what's going on in their world all the time, because it's just, you know, you wake up, you go to work, you do this, you got a routine, it's simple, you just kind of go with the flow. But anyway, so in a dream, that's kind of like, it's that, except it's way more so, right? Because like the dreams in our evolution, I don't know why dreams exist or whatever. But like, you know, it's our brain trying to interpret information from the base reality, or whatever base reality even means, right? Like, it's possible that there is no base reality. But anyway, so dreams are you trying to interpret information in some way, but like, there's no real like logic to it, right? So it's like, you know, you can just live in a dream, and it's like the dream, like, especially another thing is if you do lucid dreaming practices like I do, and you tried it, like I would meditate and stuff and mindfulness, all that crap, right? Like, that makes your dreams even stronger at like being realistic, right? And so like when you are really taking note of like, wow, like look at this wall that I've got going on, like, whoa, like, you know, when you feel things, does anyone like, I don't know, for me, I love like touching walls, like just in general. I love touching walls. I love like touching random things. I love touching trees. I love just touching a bunch of stuff, right? So anyway, that makes it so that when I dream, right, I have all this sensory information where it's like, oh, I know like a tree. If I touch a tree in a dream, it feels one-to-one with touching a tree in real life. And it makes it very difficult to interpret, you know, reality from a dream. And that's kind of like the main thing of this movie, is that the character Cobb and like the rest of the squad, but mostly Cobb, right? Like he's so involved in going in and out of the dream worlds that like there is literally no way for you to like know what the difference is. So in order to explain to the audience how they know whether they're not in reality, is they have this thing called a totem. I'm going to be honest with you. The totem stuff, that's like, in my opinion, I may have said earlier that the only thing that's illogical is the synchronized dreaming drug stuff, but I think the totem stuff doesn't make any sense. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't figure out the totem stuff at all. I think it's just a vehicle, like as a way to have people that aren't familiar with dreams to like have, like, I think it's just a vehicle for Chris Nolan to talk to the audience about something. I really don't think that the logic of the totems makes sense, right? Because if only you know what the totem is going to be, like if it, like, you know, if it's the loaded die and you know it's going to be on 5 or whatever, when you throw the die and it's on 5, how does that give you any information? I don't know. Maybe there's more to that I missed. It's possible. But the totem stuff doesn't really make any sense, right? Like, you know, like, I don't know. Maybe I think it's just like a way for the people that aren't familiar with the concept of lucid dreaming. I think it's just a way for them to like be able to like enjoy the movie better, and that's fine. That's all good, you know. But anyway, I mean, this movie is a masterpiece. I could keep talking about it, but it's a masterpiece. It's 10 out of 10. Like, I can't praise it enough. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I would go as far as to say it's one of, objectively speaking, the best movies of all time. I know a lot of people criticize people that try to speak objectively. I think if you were to use any objective measures, like, this is just like, it's a 10 out of 10 on every scale, like on music, writing, editing, cinematography, acting, every metric that you could possibly come up with is perfect. Like, there's no flaw. Like, if I were to come up with you, like, and say like, oh, this part, like, you know, 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 13 seconds, right? You can see that there's like a smudge on the wall in the background. Like, I couldn't even, maybe it's possible that there's a smudge in the background at that timestamp. But I don't, like, I really can't, like, I need to express that it's such a good movie. I really don't know how a movie this good could even exist. I'm not even sure how it's even possible. But it is possible, and it does exist, and I watched it yesterday on Shrooms, and it was phenomenal. And I can't recommend it enough. So there you go. That'll round up my show for today. I watched another movie yesterday, but I'll talk about it tomorrow. I don't know what the AFI Top 100 is, but Top 100 is an understatement. Q-Cock! Hit me! Q-Cock! Where's my Q-Cock? Q-Cock! Let's go! Waiting for the goddamn Q-Cock here. Like, top 100, man. Like, I'm saying top 5. I mean, American Film Institute. Yeah, I don't care about them. Like, I don't know. too good. It's too good. I used to have really bad sleep paralysis. Very frequent. And then I went to a hypnotist and started learning lucid dreaming. I had that similar experience when I was very young, and that's when I got onto the lucid dreaming stuff, because I had sleep paralysis. I never went to a sleep therapist, right? Because I was too poor for that shit. But I remember like just lying awake, staring at the wall, being unable to move, and then just like being very enthralled with that concept. It wasn't necessarily scary. Sometimes it was scary. Like sometimes the shadows would like morph. Because when you have sleep paralysis, right? Like you're in the dream state a little bit, but not entirely. So you are hallucinating. Because that's when you really think about it, dreams are just hallucinations. I mean, also when you really think about it, everything is a hallucination. Like you watching the show is a hallucination, right? Like, so everything is a hallucination, but dreams are even more of a hallucination with less logic. So when you're in that dream state, but like you can kind of see what's going on, like shadows will morph into creatures because that's just, you're hallucinating. Like you're on drugs. Like, it's just that your brain is producing the drugs naturally. And so that's when I got enthralled with the subject when I was like, maybe, I don't know, like 10 years old, I think the first time. But it wasn't until a couple years ago that I really sat down and spent a significant amount of time studying it in a way that actually was very fruitful and beneficial. I'm waiting for goddamn Rielon to type this goddamn Q-cock. What the hell's taking so long? Bye-bye, Alicia. So I have deja vu dreams, and one of them came to fruition the other day. I was watching TDR, and I remember the segment and what I typed in the chat, but for some reason I change what I message. Okay. So first of all, I can already tell that this is a nightmare because you weren't watching above it all in the dream. Had to say it. I have to. That I'm obligated. So that's first of all. First of all, that's obviously a nightmare. Anyone dreaming about watching the damage report, which I assume is what TDR means, that's a nightmare. That's crazy. But anyway, I changed what I messaged from the dream. So do you potentially think I messed up my timeline or something? Okay, so let me tell you this. I've had dreams, especially false awakenings, where I wake up many times and do something like I've had false awakening sessions where it's like I wake up, go pee and then go back to sleep. But like I have sometimes had situations where it's like that has happened 5 to 10 times in one dream session. But also I have actually in the real world, assuming that the real world means anything, it's the world that we are sharing right now. If we are sharing a world, I'm not convinced. But anyway, where I've actually, whatever actually means, gone up and go, use the bathroom and then go back to bed. And I've had situations where I genuinely could not tell you which one is real, like where, like, they're all different. Like, I talk to someone and, or I play with Max a little bit, or sometimes I'll take Max out in the middle of the night if I'm awake, right? And I've had moments where I couldn't tell. I just had I can't, like, each one, the reality ones, the dream ones, they're as similar. I could not possibly tell you what the difference is. I've had that many times. So that's what that sounds like to me. Is that, like, you just had a dream that, like, is just, like, a memory of a random day? And, like, if you're telling me you don't, like, you can't tell which one was the real message that you posted or whatever, or, like, why, like, you changed the message, like, is that something you really wanted to say? Or it's like, it's like, the jerk store from fucking Seinfeld, you wish you said it, but you didn't actually have your epic own, but, like, later on you're like, oh, fuck, if only I had, done this. Maybe that's your brain telling you that you need to up your chat game, who knows? It's possible. It's possible. Anything's possible when you think about it, to be honest with you. So. But that's pretty much my show for today. I'd like to say thank you all for watching. That's it. Does anyone have any other questions, comments, or concerns? The dream was long ago. The IRL was on Monday. I remembered what I typed in the dream, but I stopped myself IRL and changed it. Oh, okay. Huh, that's even interesting. That's even more interesting. I mean, was it like the same episode of the show? Like you saw into the future? Or is it just similar? Like, you know, like on news shows, people repeat similar talking points often, right? You know, like if someone says something racist like 3 years ago and you debunk it, and then someone says something racist 3 days ago and you debunk it, oftentimes you'll use a lot of the same talking points. So it's possible that like in your dream, it was just like an old kind of situation that resulted in you seeing someone say something similar. And then like you had deja vu because a similar scenario occurred. That's the thing is that now if you know how the solar system works, right, where it's like all planets are spinning around the sun and shit. If you know how the solar system works, it revolves around looping, right? You loop. And I'm convinced that human behavior and everything in the world works in the same way. Like we all fall into routines and patterns, and we all loop on various things. You know, if you have an anxiety disorder, you'll loop on what makes you anxious, right? If you work or whatever, you'll have the same routine. You'll get up, brush your teeth, drink coffee, go to work, all that kind of stuff. I feel like the way human society as it is, the same segment. So you saw the future? I don't know. I'm not sure. I've never seen the future before. Motherfuckers like Bardock. I will say this though. Your memory, right? Memory is not very reliable. So it's possible that like you remember the dream being in such a way, but like when you remember it, it feels like it was that way, but in reality it was not actually. Like for example, like when you play a memory in your head, like I can remember eating breakfast, right? It's not like a recording, right? Like memories are more like a band playing a live performance, right? It's the same song. Notes are almost the same, right? The people in the band, they might have a new drummer now, right? But like it's mostly the same, right? But you're doing it from scratch, like all in one, like you're doing a live performance, right? It's the same song, right? But you're not playing a recording. You're not going up on stage and like press and play on your tape, right? You're playing the actual song live, right? And that's kind of like how I would say memories are like. So I think that's kind of what plays into deja vu as well. But it's I'm not anything is possible. But anyway, that's all I got, I think. What did I eat today? I had egg. 2G. Getting a dream journal? Grab that shit. Go, 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 go! For Christ's sake! You know about these motherfuckers that say Christ's sake? Like it's one word, no T? Christ's sake. For goddamn Christ's sake. And then there's Christ's sakes. You ever hear Christ's sakes? Like plural? Like there's multiple sakes? Okay. Anyway, that's the show. That's all I got. I will see y'all tomorrow. Thank you for watching. That's all I got.
It was an amazing phone call I made. 40 Wall Street actually was the second tallest building in downtown Manhattan, and it was actually, before the World Trade Center, was the tallest. And then when they built the World Trade Center, it became known as the second tallest, and now it's the tallest. And I just spoke to my people. It was an
I went in yesterday and there was a television screen, and I said, this is genius.
I mean, the fossil fuel industry, they weigh in so significantly. I mean, how could it be?
And then they have cans of soup, and they throw the cans of soup. That's better than a brick, because you can't throw a brick, it's too heavy. But a can of soup, you can really put some power into that, right? And then when they get caught, they say, no, this is soup from my family. They're so innocent. This is soup for my family. It's incredible. And you have people coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup, and they lay it on the ground, and the anarchists take it and they start throwing it at our cops, at our police. And if it hits you, that's worse than a brick, because it's got force. It's the perfect size. It's like made perfect. And when they get caught, they say, no, this is just soup for my family. And then the media says, this is just soup. These people are very, very innocent. They're innocent people.
Sam, if I could just get this sentence out. We can talk about Jimmy Dore can go and kill 15 kids tomorrow, and I still believe in force the vote.
Dub is a shit fuck, cringe tour, etc., etc.